Our second inductee is one of the most decorated Australian bowlers of the modern era. A competitor who rose rapidly through the high-performance system and became a cornerstone of one of the most dominant women's teams in Australian bowls history.
A proud Tasmanian, she claimed gold at the 2012 World Bowls Championship in the women's pairs alongside tonight's earlier award presenter Kelsey Cottrell, and contributed to team gold at the same championships. She then delivered perhaps her greatest World Championship performance at Christchurch in 2016, with gold medals in both the triples and fours, contributing to the women's overall trophy. Her Commonwealth Games record is equally remarkable. Double gold at the Gold Coast 2018 Commonwealth Games. That was in the triples and fours, before representing Australia again in Birmingham in 2022. Domestically, she has been equally prolific, with multiple Australian Open titles across singles, pairs and fours. Known for her composure and consistency, her achievements firmly place her amongst the finest Australian bowlers of her generation.
Please turn to the screens and welcome into the Bowls Australia Hall of Fame, Rebecca Van Asch.
Rebecca Van Asch established herself as one of Australia's premier modern-era representatives through sustained international success across Commonwealth Games and World Championships competition. A composed and fiercely competitive performer on the sport's biggest stages, Van Asch represented the Jackaroos with distinction across multiple international campaigns. Her greatest achievements came at the 2018 Commonwealth Games on the Gold Coast, where she secured double gold medals in both the women's triples and women's fours disciplines. Van Asch also enjoyed extraordinary success at World Outdoor Bowls Championships level, winning gold medals in the women's pairs in 2012, before adding world titles in both the triples and fours disciplines in 2016. Across more than a decade at the elite level, Van Asch became one of the defining Australian female players of her generation. And tonight, Bowls Australia proudly recognises the exceptional achievements of Rebecca Van Asch as she is inducted into the Bowls Australia Hall of Fame.
Thank you, everyone. It feels like my life just flashed before my eyes there for a little bit. Firstly, I would like to sincerely thank Bowls Australia and the selection panel for the induction into tonight's Hall of Fame. It is a very humbling and special moment. As Clive introduced, I'm a very proud Tasmanian, a very passionate Tasmanian, and to be the first Tasmanian inducted into the National Hall of Fame is something very dear to me and something that I carry with a lot of pride. It was just over 20 years ago that I was told I would not play for Australia while I remained living in Tasmania. So it's nice to be right sometimes and be able to stand up here before you this evening. With that said, I do have a few thank yous I'd like to make, and I'd like to start by thanking three terrific coaches that I've had the opportunity to work with over my entire career. And my very first coach, George Atkins, who's still with us today, who I could never repay the amount of time he spent with me on the green, walking up and down. It'd probably break us if we'd ever had to pay him for those times. So a big shout out to him. To my second coach along that journey, Steve Glasson. Steve, really, you put so much faith in giving me the opportunity. You saw past my location and gave me an opportunity, and I really cherished and worked my butt off for the next decade to try and repay you for that faith that you had in me, and you're welcome for all the gold medals. To the third coach, who's unfortunately not here tonight, but Gary Willis, who was my assistant coach for most of that time, and to be honest was probably a sports psychologist and mentor during that time, and I now get to work side by side with as the national coach, and I'm still learning from him to this day, and I thank him wholeheartedly for that as well. Also, just a few other thank yous to my sponsors, Henselite, to the Tasmanian Institute of Sport. I was a scholarship holder with them for 18 or 19 years, and that was so much help to me, and I really do thank them. To my club at Invermain, my Swampies family, who I've been with my entire career and have kept me very grounded and humble through that time. I was always going home to working bees and volunteering at our small club. So I love those guys and cherish going back there all the time. To my teammates, probably the biggest contributors to this whole journey, and you don't get an opportunity like this without that, and it's the memories that we get to make along the way. So I really do want to thank all the teammates that I played with over that time, but I just want to give a little special shout out to 5 women in particular that just played such a huge part in our success. To my fellow inductee tonight, Carla Krasanik, to Lindsay Clark, who is a bit above us in that legend status, and also Karen Murphy, who's already there, and to Kelsey Cottrell and to Natasha Van Eldik. Those girls were such a huge part of it. We've got so many memories. The majority of memories I've actually got are off the green with them. If you catch up with me a little bit later, I might even be able to tell you some stories that I can't tell you while I'm up here tonight. But finally, to my family, who have just been absolutely amazing. I know none of us can do what we do without them, but I really do want to thank my family, my nan, my late dad, to my uncle Bob, my in-laws, Nadine and Ari, and probably to the 2 biggest contributors, my unsung hero in my mum, who's just my absolute idol and has just done so much for me forever and still continues to do that. And to my husband, Alex, who's actually upstairs with our daughter, keeping her occupied so I can enjoy this evening, which is, probably just shows you the type of support that he's always been behind the scenes. Finally, one last little shout out to my daughter, Lexi, who is upstairs, who, I'll be honest, has absolutely contributed nothing to this journey whatsoever and has probably just made it actually harder, but I wouldn't change it for the world, and she's absolutely amazing, and I try and be the best role model I can for her, so a special shout out to her. Thank you all.